Hey, college sports fans, the off season has moved into the preseason. We are continuing our series of not only previewing Clemson's positions one at a time, we're also looking at the best all time at each of those positions. And today we are going to take a look at the tight ends.
I'm Daniel Shirley. This is a different kind of a group, right? I mean, it's weird, Bill. It's how have these tight ends been used, right, through our time as Clemson fans, graduates, media members, all the things that you and I have done in our lives. And you go back to when we were growing up, Bennie Cunningham, right? I mean, great player, but he's not the same player that Dwayne Allen was or Jordan Leggett was, right? They're just used differently. And even Jake Briningstool was more of a wide receiver
Yeah,
than a pure tight end as far as blocking and everything that went on with that. I mean, he blocked some, but not like you would think like
not
Allen and Jordan Leggett.
consistently. Yeah.
Yeah, not like Allen and Jordan Leggett did for sure. In the early years of this offense that Clemson now runs. So it's interesting how those transitions have been made. I mean, even the mid '80s, late '80s, you were a glorified tackle, right, at tight end. So it's a different position now than it was when you and I were growing up.
Yeah, tackle eligible back then, kind of, wasn't
Yes,
it? I'm Bill
yes.
Zimmerman. He's Daniel Shirley. This is the Reign Supreme Ollie podcast, season 4. I got all 4 fingers on the screen that time, which is always nice if it matches up like that. Let's get into a little bit of the method behind our madness. We are going to go through a list of kind of, 5 or 6 guys. I think we got 5 at tight end today who almost make that sort of final 4. Those guys will be in no particular order. And then that final 4, so to speak, that top 4, they will also be in no particular order among themselves. So it's kind of like looking at 2 tiers of this. And then toward the end of the episode, we will look at this year's tight end room, well, which does see a significant loss. We'll talk about that later and who's ready to step up and who might surprise a little bit there and flash a little bit. But let's go ahead and talk about some of these guys. And one is very recent in sort of that second tier of the all-time greats, and it's Davis Allen. He was here from 2019 to 2022, ended up earning draft pick status. He had 951 yards, 12 touchdowns, 88 receptions. Not as lofty numbers as you would see, but I just never saw any holes in Davis Allen's game. Like, I always felt like they could have used him more in the passing game had they been able to. I'm not sure there was always a lot of visibility over the middle of the field. I'm not sure the offense was really clicking on all cylinders in that regard. I wouldn't put it necessarily on lack of preparation on anybody's part or lack of effort or anything like that. I just think a lot of the time it didn't look like it was there. And I think his numbers could have been much bigger had they been more consistent. And then another fairly recent guy would be Brandon Ford, who kind of sandwiches in between some greats on this list as well. 728 yards, 12 TDs. Uh, what have I got there? Struggling to see. 65 receptions. Thank you for your patience. And once had 9 receptions in a game, which would be tops, I believe, among tight ends.
Davis Allen feels like they didn't use him enough,
Yeah.
right? Like he could have had numbers well beyond what he ended up with. And I don't know why that was. I think you and I talked about that a lot during his time as a player of, just us texting back and forth is where's Davis Allen?
Yeah.
Right? He feels like he should be a bigger part of this offense. And again, those were good teams at that time. So it's not like the offense was awful, but you felt like he was underused. Uh,
Especially in the red zone, with that
yeah,
offensive line was kind of struggling to open holes or creases for running backs.
absolutely. And then Brandon Ford was a solid tight end, right? And again, you feel like, man, if he'd come along now, where they're throwing the ball, a lot more, and they've had good teams, because he was kind of again in that gray area of Dabo's first couple of teams, and they didn't know who they were. What were they going to be? Are they going to be a power team? They changed the offense during that time, changed the offense coordinator, and then he had a good career, I think, and could have again. You wish you'd have seen him play in some of those more successful teams, but I was a big fan of him. Hey, look, I was a big fan of KD Dunn. I remember KD Dunn well. And then Michael Palmer as well. Michael Palmer, I felt both of those guys, you feel like, man, if they had just come along, especially Michael Palmer, because he was in that Tommy Bowden, Dabo switchover era. That if he'd have come along 10 years later, he might have been a guy that could have gone to the NFL like a Davis Allen. And Davis Allen, look what he did with the Rams last year. He's pretty good. Played pretty well when he got a chance. So yeah, I mean, this is a good group. I'm sorry, McMackin's a little bit before our time, right? I mean, he was playing right around the time I was born and you were born. So, but really good numbers. And you like I like the way the tight end position has kind of transitioned during this current era and what they've become, because I think we're going to talk about a couple of guys here that have meant a lot to this program.
Be sure to subscribe at youtube.com/Clemson Kickoff. It's free. It's the best place to catch all our episodes, and it's the best place for you to comment with your reactions. Yeah, McMackin, you can see there, played 69 to 71. Also once had 9 receptions in a game, 1,255 yards, 11 touchdowns, 93 receptions. And back then, like, that's saying a lot,
That's a lot.
I mean,
Yes.
that's no slouch kind of thing to look at. And we'll actually compare that to one of the guys you mentioned earlier, Bennie Cunningham. We'll take a look at his numbers later. Michael Palmer, 825 yards, 8 TDs, 73 receptions. KD Dunn made his presence known kind of in noticeable moments, I guess you would say. But the totals, 519 yards, 9 TDs, and 47 receptions, playing from 82 to 84. So you will see a dramatic difference between those numbers and the 4 guys that we're going to talk about kind of in that top tier all-time Clemson best tight ends. Let's go to Jake Briningstool and start it there. The recently departed Jake Briningstool played 21 to 24, 1,380 yards, a little bit ahead of McMackin there, 17 touchdowns, 127 receptions. That is the career tight end record at Clemson, and receptions for a season co-leader with 50. Also had 9 in a game once.
And didn't it still feel like he was a little bit underused, right? You look at those numbers and go, yeah, but they still could have got more out of him. I thought he was a good player. I thought he was a great athlete.
Yeah.
Kind of the prototypical tight end for this era. Big, tall, athletic, can move. Became a better blocker. Wasn't a great blocker when he got there, but he became a better blocker. Just didn't do it very much, compared to some of these other guys. But look, you can't deny career touchdown in a season leader, career receptions leader for tight ends. You can't deny those numbers. 17 touchdowns is a lot. So, and had some big moments. I thought he had some really big moments where he really stepped up for this team, and maybe is dinged a little bit because they weren't a national championship contender during his career. You wish you'd have kind of seen him on those teams and what he could have been on those championship teams, but had a great career and belongs at the with the top 4 of this list.
Yep. And a very similar guy in stature, I think, did get that benefit of being on at least one national championship team, and that's Jordan Leggett. Also not a real physical guy, very, very athletically talented, much like Briningstool. Kind of knew how to be that chess piece. He kind of had a sixth sense, and I don't know, if that was coaching or if that's just something that was innate. Also had a really masterful catch radius. No one's ever going to forget that one where he just laid himself out sideways in Tampa against Alabama for one of the key first down catches on that closing drive that won the game. And then also the one against Florida State, where he's getting near the end zone. He's trying to minimize some contact there inside the 5. And again, he just gets horizontal, puts one palm down on the ground and extends the ball and barely gets to the goal line and scores what was a key touchdown late in that game against Florida State. Career-wise, 18 touchdowns, which is the career mark, 1,598 yards. I don't have career mark written down, but it's got to be. I hope I'm not wrong about that. and 112 receptions overall, and just what he meant, and kind of being another one of those guys with a story of not the easiest childhood and coming to Clemson and really blossoming because he put in the work in high school, had the right people around him, and just became uh, to me a star on the field. And maybe I don't think you can call him an unsung hero. I think everybody knows
No,
Jordan Leggett's
no.
name.
Well, and I don't think you could call him that either because of he made huge plays and huge moments.
Yeah.
The catch against Alabama, you mentioned it, that will go down maybe with Jerry Butler, against South Carolina,
Mhm.
maybe Perry Tuttle in the Orange Bowl. I mean, that one is one we will never forget. But you mentioned the Florida State play. Bill, don't forget about the Louisville touchdown,
Oh yeah.
right? And that back and forth with Lamar Jackson. So he not only has the stats, he had huge moments where he made plays for this team. And I think I mean, right at the top of the list, right? Because he has it all. He has the numbers, he has the championship, and he came up with some big time plays for that team.
Yeah, absolutely. Another guy who I think you could say the same thing, not an unsung hero, but during his time at Clemson, truly a star. 2009 to 2011, be Dwayne Allen. Also cracked that 1,000-yard mark, 1,079 yards. He had 12 touchdowns. Eight of them came as a senior, really elevated his game, showed that senior leadership. 93 receptions. Won the Mackey Award as the nation's top tight end, and
Yeah.
has the is also tied for the season tight end receptions mark of 50 in a year. Went on to NFL success. We don't look a lot at that on this list. We try to focus on what they did during their time at Clemson. And again, these four guys are no particular order. I think you could make a case for any of them as number one, Dwayne Allen included, who really, to me, just expanded the use of what the tight end could be.
Yeah, he was again. We're talking about that transition period of Dabo taking over, then changing the offense, and Dwayne Allen came along with Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins,
Yeah.
C.J. Spiller. I mean, think of those four guys being on the field at the same time
And
together.
Nuke.
Nuke, right? I didn't even mention Nuke was
Yeah.
on the team as well. I mean, that's when the offense changed. And again, that 2011 season, Dwayne Allen, big plays in the ACC championship game against Florida State, against Auburn, at Virginia Tech. So I just think he's a guy who paved the way for Leggett, Allen, Briningstool. What is the
Yeah.
tight end at Clemson going to be? I think Dwayne Allen is the blueprint.
There you go. Ooh, nice nickname. Wonder if he would like that. And wore blue
We'll
with
start calling him that. Yes.
the wore blue in the NFL with the Colts, so maybe it could kind of fit. And we'll go back in time here a little bit, and not quite as far as McMakin, but someone who came along after him, Bennie Cunningham, Seneca native, do I remember correctly? So
I believe that's right. Yeah.
from right in the area. I hope I'm right about that. Got a ton of family in Seneca. They'll let me know if I'm wrong. That's for sure. First team All-American. I think just about everybody on this list was in contention, but it's tough to get that visibility as a tight end, and so it's kind of remarkable that that's something that sort of sets Cunningham apart. 1,044 yards, as I mentioned, 10 TDs, 64 receptions, a first round draft pick, and a legendary career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You talk about Dwayne Allen being surrounded by talent at Clemson. Boy, was Cunningham surrounded by talent with Pittsburgh. Led Clemson in receiving in 1973 and 74, and then made that ACC 50-year anniversary team. I have to admit, until I was a freshman in Johnstone and saw his name in lights on that West End Zone scoreboard, and they used to leave that thing on for like recruiting visits and stuff, and my dorm room looked out over it. I didn't realize Bennie Cunningham had gone to Clemson. So you never stop learning, I guess, is the key. So I hope you can remember more what his days were like as a Tiger.
Well, I mean, his last year was kind of my first year going to games.
Okay.
And I do remember just this huge figure catching the ball. I'm like, wait, why is that big dude catching the ball and nobody else is that size is catching the ball? I'm 5 years old. I don't know anything about football, I'm 54 right now. Some people say I still don't know anything about football,
Sorry, you
but
said 34?
yes, 34. Sorry, I'm projecting. And he was born in Lawrence, but did go to Seneca High School.
Okay.
So you had that right. Just Bill, look at those numbers back when what they throw the ball half as much as they throw it now. I mean,
Yeah.
this was before Danny Ford, so it wasn't totally 3 yards in a cloud of dust as the cliche says. And I say this all the time: things become cliche because they're true.
Yeah.
And that's what Clemson was back then. They might throw the ball 10 times in a game
A
when
lot of
Danny
college
Ford took
football
over.
was that way. Yeah.
Absolutely. So look at his numbers back in an era where it was not throw the ball 30, 40 times a game. That was not going to happen. So just a great player, had a good, solid career with the Steelers, and did a lot of good things for the Tigers.
Quite a list. I mean, again, I don't know how you pick a number one off of there. Just tons of talent, top to bottom on that. And we may see some more guys emerge in the coming years. I don't know if we'll see that this year, but I do think that we've got more talent in the pipeline there, and we'll see how that unfolds.
Yeah, I like this year's group. I know it's a different group because Briningstool has been the kind of the face of the position for the last 3 years. But now there's somebody else is going to have to step up. And I think that the guys who played last year, I really, really like what Olsen Patt-Henry brings. I like what Josh Sapp brings. I know he's not an every down player, but when he's on the field, he makes plays.
Yeah.
And that's all you can really ask for. Uh, you know, Logan Brooking, I think, is more of a projecting, a couple of years down the line, but what he becomes, we'll find out. Christian Bentancur feels a lot like Briningstool to me, a lot like Leggett. And then there's the X factor of Ian Shefflin. Maybe put him in the red zone and just throw it up to him. But I know that Briningstool's gone and he meant so much to this team. It'd be great if he was back for one more year. And so it's a new group, but Bill, it's a really interesting group to me. Unproven, but really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think both Patt-Henry and Sapp maybe came in as not quite total project guys, not total developmental guys, but they knew those weren't going to be guys who stepped on the field as freshmen and made an immediate impact. But I think we've seen Patt-Henry really step up and become very, very able. Last year to me was a really positive emergence for
Yes.
him, and I thought, I'm a fan of Josh Sapp, and I'm a little biased because I really enjoyed being on campus the same time as his father, Patrick Sapp. And I really always enjoyed speaking with him. Just a terrific Clemson gentleman, as you say, as the saying goes. And I think Olsen Patt-Henry had a task to get ahead of Josh Sapp, to me, more than maybe a lot of people realized. And I think he made that happen. I think he's got that extra quarter step maybe that it takes to be I think the clear-cut starter going into the year. I have tremendous confidence in Josh Sapp every time he's out there. I think you can rotate those two guys, not just situationally, but really put them out there as needed at any point on the field. And then Bentancur, to me, is kind of you mentioned a little bit of Briningstool. I think he's got a little more thickness to him, maybe a little more Davis Allen style. We need to see it. We didn't get to see a lot of it last year because three really capable guys who were taking up most of the snaps in Briningstool, Patt-Henry, and Sapp. So this is Bentancur's time to prove that, hey, I've been paying attention, I've been getting ready, and I'd like to get out there and put this frame of mind to use. And then I do think you're right. That gives time for someone like Logan Brooking, who has that NFL legacy pedigree, familiar to ACC fans. His dad played for Georgia Tech, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And so we'll see him come of age in the next couple of years. We may see him get on the field a little more than Bentancur did last year, but if he doesn't, well, then certainly there's that plan in place that had Bentancur developing, learning, and figuring things out under tight ends coach Kyle Richardson, as well as the rest of the staff. And then yeah, it's funny. Pardon me. We've been doing this prep work for so long. I had to go back and add Shefflin in after he I guess, the intra portal, intra campus
Yes.
portal coming over from the basketball team. I mean, Dabo Swinney is just over the moon for this guy, and suddenly he's begun backpedaling just a little bit, saying, okay, now he's got to learn the nuances of the game, but that physical presence is definitely potential. 6'8", you want that target in the red zone? I
Yeah.
think they do, and we talked about maybe not seeing Davis Allen enough. If height was ever an issue, or if height ever happens to be an issue, Shefflin can certainly address that. And supposedly he punted in high school, so maybe we'll see him, maybe we'll see him get a shot at that as well. But Patt-Henry, Sapp, maybe Bentancur, I think that's a heck of a three-pronged attack for the Tigers at tight end, and we'll see how Klubnik can work them in. I think he's going to have to distribute the ball a lot because you got 4, 5, 6 receivers out there,
Yep.
lined up wide, and we will see Patt-Henry, Sapp, maybe Bentancur lining up out wide a little bit as well under this Garrett Riley dirt raid kind of setup. But you know, it stands to reason that they're all going to get their shots.
Yeah, I think so because I think you saw that last year. Look, you're right about Patt-Henry. I think going into last season, I thought he and Sapp were right together, and I don't think it was anything that Sapp didn't do. I think it's what Patt-Henry did
Yeah.
to kind of become the clear number two. I thought going into last year they were kind of 2A and 2B,
Yeah.
and it became clear that Patt-Henry was two and Josh Sapp was three. I think I love Josh Sapp. I think he's the clear number two. I think he deserves to get on the field a little bit more. I think he's earned that right. But Patt-Henry, look, he had the 2 touchdowns against Virginia, I think is right. I believe that's right. And just made plays. But Sapp also made plays. It wasn't as consistent as Patt-Henry. And Patt-Henry's a little bit bigger, a
Hmm.
little bit more of a blocker. But I like what both of those guys bring. I can't wait to see what Bentancur is. Dabo has talked him up. Look, Brooking, in living in this state, he played in Savannah in high school. He was a terrific player in this state for a long, for throughout his high school career. And that doesn't just happen by accident. He's going to be a really good player. It's just he's got 3 guys ahead of him who are going to be really good this year. I like this group. I do. It's again, I know it's a new group, maybe a little bit under tested or untested. Not as much as I think some people think, but it's not. There's not the starter back. It's not like they got a guy back with a bunch of production, but they've got some pretty good players in this group.
Absolutely. I don't think it's going to be a hole, I think
Right.
it'll be, I think it's going to be well handled. So
There are
hope,
bigger questions on this offense than tight end.
yep. And we'll get into them in another episode. So hope you will stay with us. Hope you're really enjoying the way we're bringing this out this season with the mixing the best all time and kind of giving that extra perspective. In all our episodes, we like to give that kind of, longer term perspective rather than just dealing with what's in the moment, because you end up being such a roller coaster of emotions, and you try to meter things out and say, all right, let's take a little half step back and see what everything looks like. So I think it's fun. I think it feels at least natural to us, and I hope you're enjoying watching these. And we've got more as the off season turns into the preseason and the preseason approaches the season. And we will be with you all year long. This is our 4th season. Daniel, did you think we'd start a 4th season when we thought a little more than 3 years ago to start this?
I did. We've been a little more herky jerky, start stop than I thought we would be, but I did think we would keep it up, and I'm glad we're here.
Yep, having a blast with it. Haven't made a dime yet, but we're having a blast with it. So we'll keep at it. So until our next episode, I'm Bill Zimmerman.
I'm Daniel Shirley. Go Tigers.